Hi everybody, I'm Keith McGuire. Mark's behind the camera, and today we're gonna have a little lesson in, this is a quickie. It's gonna be a lesson in texture, and today we're gonna be working with sticks and twigs. I do a lot of wildlife. I have a lot of natural images, so I like to kind of give my branches that I put my birds on a little character. Makes them, makes painting a little more interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I put a little blue water, or a little blue ultramarine blue in my water, just hopefully so you can kind of see how I drag my brush with water on it. Now you don't put the blue in when you're kind of wetting your page, but let's see if this will work. Hope it's dark enough. But basically what I do is I use the side of the brush, I use a little bit of water, and what I try to do is not hit everywhere, okay? I'm not trying to nail everything. So we want to leave like little dry spots and patches here and there, okay? So, and you will see why. So, I've kind of moistened an area. I'm going to do this up here again real quick. All right. Now I'm going to grab me a little ultramarine blue and a little bit of indigo. I'm going to do a little mix. And the other two colors I'm going to be using almost immediately is burnt sienna. I'm going to drag it on my palette here. And I have a new color now that I've been using of late, and I really like it. I don't have a particular brand in mind. Actually, I'm pretty sure this was a squeeze that somebody gave me, but it's Quinn burnt sienna. And for some reason, it looks about the same on the tray, but it's a little bit brighter, a little bit of a sharper color. So what I'm going to do is just, where I've hit it with water, I'm going to go ahead and just start pushing a little bit of color onto my page. And like I said, what I'm trying to do is not hit everything. Leave light, leave white, because what we're going to try to do is perhaps build some lichens onto this. In case you don't know, a lichen is a kind of like a scaly mold-like thing that grows on trees. After it rains, it's really pretty. It's usually a bright green. But as you can see, what I like to do is put color down and then push water into it. And what I'm trying to do is create some very not quite mixed together colors. That don't make no sense. But what can I say? Anyway, so very lightly, I've got kind of a first coat down here. You can see I've left a little bits of white here and there, I hope. This is still fairly light. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this one particular branch kind of up and done. So I'm using a fairly large brush, and I'm just kind of dragging things along. And what I'm going to do now is, at a certain point, you almost get too much water going. So what you want to do is switch to a smaller brush. That way you don't get as big a plop of more water in there. There we go. All right. So what the water is going to do, though, as I add water to this image, so I'll just hit it with water. What I'm doing is, wherever there's a white area, wherever there's an end to the paint, you'll see that the paint literally washes up against the edges of the branch itself. And what that does is it creates kind of like a hard line. So it's almost like you're getting a very sharp, fine line without working. You're just forcing the paint to the edge of the picture. All right, so I'm going to let that set up. In the meantime, I'm going to grab another little more water. I'll put a little of the ultramarine blue in, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And just using the side of my brush, just kind of dragging it along. You can see, maybe.
But you rotated the picture!
I know. If you want me to actually do a good job, I have to do this every once in a while. But right now, I'm just kind of using the side of the brush, using the texture of the paper, which, right off the bat, I'll tell you, I use Arches 140 cold press. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, I use 300 pound too, but it's the Arches that I like. It really helps good artists be better, and new artists, it's so forgiving. You can work it, you can really do a lot of work. So see what I mean? I drop water along these edges, and I start getting, it starts creating little hard edges, let's put it that way, just by adding water. As you can see, I'm trying to leave some of these areas. I want to leave just a little bit of that exposed white area. That will later on be basically it's going to be lichens. Alright. And you just built this up. Take your time. If you do it all at once, if you work too fast, I don't think you're going to get quite the results. As things dry, you just, this is kind of painting that as it dries, you just keep adding a little more color, so you get to the value that you want it to be. Was that me?
Nope.
Good.
But I get putting my phone somewhere on a hard surface.
Well, I have to admit I did not turn mine off either. So, living dangerously. So, while this is still moist, I'm going to come back into here now. I'm just going to add a little more color. The idea is that you don't cover everything. Also, we're going to want to round these branches up a little bit. So you are going to have probably shadow coming all the way, you know. So on the two sides, you're probably going to have a little shadow. One side will be a little more shadowed than the other. Just to get that round feeling. All right. I told Mark this was going to be a quick one.
Yep. He also told me he'd come by and shoot more videos more often too. So you guys know how that worked out.
But I'm back, baby. I'm actually halfway in the middle of moving. It's kind of like a weird long process while I'm waiting for my new place to move into. So it's been a little bit fun. It's like being half packed, ready to go at any minute, all the time. Alright, so as you can see, where I've added color, I will go back in. I'll actually maybe push it around some more. I like pushing one color into another color too, because you end up starting to get little cracks and little surfaces on these bits of wood. All right. And eventually, what happens is I start increasing the value. And that's what I'm starting to do now. Okay. And I know you're thinking, wow, that's all so light and very fluffy. What we're going to do, though, is once we let this dry, we're going to look at the cracks and little bits and pieces that are in here, and that's where we're going to start developing our final textures. So, all right. Please, sir, I have some final texture. All right. So, dry brush. Here we go. This is with a lot of water. This is with very little water. Now this technique is I fill up the brush with color. Didn't know you were getting two different lessons at once.
What?
Yeah. So on this branch, what I'm going to do is I kind of drag my brush, get these nice little bits of white and texture going by just carefully using the side of the brush. And the flatter you can get it to the page, the more you can kind of bump up over top of the little bumps on the paper. Now, while it's hopefully still wet, and hopefully while it's still wet, I go in and drop my water in. Liar. Okay. It dried that quickly. Okay. Oh well. I'll try again. So I'm adding a little more paint. See, this would have supposed to have been all moist and everything for me, and it just dried that quick. Paint myself out of a corner. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to start introducing a little bit more of the darker value. So, burnt sienna, a bunch of indigo, That was my phone.
Yay.
Did you hear it?
I hear everything.
Yeah. She took them earphones off. And like I said, what I like to do then is I'll start around these little light areas. I'm going to start adding some darker little spots. All right.
So are you doing a background for this too, or?
I don't think I have to, but I can real quick just to show you how nicely it comes out when you do.
Depends on how long it'll take.
Well, I did say I was going to be fast, or reasonably so. So as you can see, I'm starting to bring in my middle values now, middle and darker values. And you can see where the lighter blue top here has become the lichens, the textures that, you know, the little leafy, crumbly, whatever them, I don't know what a lichen is, some kind of...
I thought those were the werewolves.
No, those are lichen, yeah, never mind. Lycanthropes. Alright. Alright, so see how I take water again and I push those dark pieces, you know, the little dark spots that I've been painting, and push them up along the edges of things. Okay, so let's see if I can rush this a little bit. So, is she going to show up in our video?
Probably.
Yeah?
But I can't go upstairs and tell her to shh without making even more noise, so.
Mr. Hicks has a beautiful daughter, what, 7 or 8? 7?
Yep, gonna be 8 soon.
Oh my God. Alright, so as you can see, I'm using a dry brush now. I'm just kind of, once again, dragging. Now, this time, before it actually dries on me, I also like to kind of, it's not just pushing water into this, but it's also kind of, you want to kind of blend a little bit. Blend a little bit too. And I think what's fun is to apply some very dark little spots here and there too. Just makes for a lot of texture. Again, you want to be careful that you don't overdo it. All right. As you can see, I like to vary it up a little bit. All right. Again, I go back in, I take a little bit of water, push that paint around a little bit. All right. So, side of the brush. See how I get these wonderful deep little crinkles and cuts? It's the trick is not to always go in the same direction, and kind of lift the brush as you go.
But think how cool it would look if everything went the same direction.
Yeah. So very mechanical and perfect.
Hey, that's harder to do than you'd think.
Yeah, I hear that. All right. So I actually use these little spots and little dark areas to actually draw people's eyes kind of around the image. And I'll use them specifically to draw your eye to the subject, which is usually some cute little bird.
You gonna put a bird in this too?
No. The hero of this story
is the lichens.
Are the lichens, exactly. But by using a little dark, you'd be surprised. You can guide people's eyes with little spots and little bits of imaging to create a flow that goes around. Anyway, can't show you because Mark won't let me put a bird in now.
No.
I know, I promised.
I
said this was 20 minutes?
Yep.
Well, honestly, we could almost get by. Not quite. So, I'm getting down to the fun part, which to me is basically, I like to put little bits of cracks and let's see where we're at. Eee. It's still too wet in some areas, but let's see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely good or definitely too wet?
Definitely too wet, I'm sorry. If you let them know what I'm doing.
We're gonna have to start putting little thought bubbles.
Yeah. What did he mean? I thought that's why you were here. You are the thought bubble. Or the thought police. So what I'm doing now is basically what I like to do is run some very thin, fine lines kind of through the image, through the branches, and where it's wet, you're going to see where the line will go poof a little bit. Let's see if I can do it up here somewhere. Yeah. So here I am doing a fine, fine line.
Poof.
And then poof. Then the poofing begins. And this is so fun to experiment with. You should really try doing lines through moist areas, so that it'll be fat, then it'll get real thin, then you'll hit a moist area, it'll get fat again. And I can't do too much in here because I guess I put a ton of water in there. Anyway, but this more or less kind of is what I wanted to show you. So the idea is don't paint everything. Keep your light values. That's so important. Everybody gets started and then they kind of just obliterate everything in front of it, everything you did in front of it. The idea is to be able to do a little bit, look it over, do a little bit more. But see, the light blues and grays have now become the that plant.
Can't you just go back over with some white paint?
Don't make me hit you. There is no such thing as white paint. There is white paper. I'm not a big fan of white paint. Every time I say that, there's always an exception to every rule. But seriously, the paper is your white. That's what you want. Don't want to be... Because white is very opaque. It's very unforgiving. It's very flat. And it's not the transparent watercolorist's friend. How's that?
That's good.
I should write that one down, right? All right.
I have to reset the cameras in a second here.
I'll tell you what. How long?
You got a minute and a half.
I'm done. I think I've made my point very quickly. You can keep playing with it. You can keep adding little details, or sometimes less is more. You just let it go, but you get an idea of what I've been up to. So, Mark, anything else?
If you like the video, give it a like, give it a share. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Head over to rkmcguire.com so you can see some of the prints Keith has up for sale, and that's where we have pages with kind of a what I'm looking for, a cheat sheet of shopping list of the tools and materials that Keith uses, the paper, the paint, the brushes, all that fun stuff. I can't remember the name of it, but so material lists are on
that's
the
a
website
good,
now
that's a
instead
good
of
word.
in the description. So go check that out. And thanks for watching. Make sure to join the Students of R.K. McGuire Facebook group, where you can post your pictures, and occasionally he hops in and will give feedback or just a thumbs up, depending on what you're looking for.
Exactly. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.